So, welcome to Suburban Bourbon, another episode, and this is episode 4 of season 3, still going strong. And this is going to be a very exciting episode. We're here in Rocky River, in the heart of Rocky River, at Tartine. And this is a place we've been coming to. I come here with my wife all the time. In fact, I was here with my mother-in-law celebrating her 80th birthday. It is a fantastic place in general, but a fantastic bourbon selection.
I know. I mean, there's a lot to offer here for sure. I mean, we talk about, we're going to focus on bourbon, but I mean, the wine selection's off the charts, and when it comes to food, we're looking forward to hearing from Dean, the owner, and all it has to offer. So I guess what I'd say is, let's start it off. Dean, can you tell our listening audience first the address? Like, how do you get to Tartine?
Right, Tartine's in the old river shopping district of downtown Rocky River, right? So there's a shopping sort of mecca street out front, right by the landmark Heinens of Rocky River, and it's just a little independently owned group of shops that are part of the Rocky River Chamber of Commerce, and we've been here in this community, thankfully now for 15 years, and we support the community. They have the Prayer for Maria festival right around the corner on our back street, every summer, and we're really happy to be a part of this niche that we've kind of accidentally fell into when we built this restaurant 15 years ago this summer. We're a month away from our 15th anniversary.
And what drew you, I guess, to Rocky River in general? I mean, even when you walk in Tartine, you know by the name.
Yeah.
It's French, sounds French, and you feel French when you walk. It feels like a French cafe when you come in. So, what inspired all that?
That's a nice compliment, thanks. And that's the goal, right? So something's working. So I've been collecting a very specific French wine for about 25 years. Bordeaux. First growth Bordeaux are my favorite wines in the world. They're the premier wines of the industry. The 5 Grand Crus of Bordeaux are the most famous. Lafite Rothschild, Mouton Rothschild, Margaux, Haut-Brion, and Latour. Those are the chateaus of the greatest wine regions in Bordeaux, France. And so about 25, 30 years ago, I had my first sip of first growth Bordeaux, and I never looked back. And so as a lifelong West Sider, I've been lived on the West Side my entire childhood, my entire schooling, went off to college for a little bit and came back, and I still live in Westlake here. And so about 17 years ago, I turned to my wife one day and I said, hey, my wife and I are both lawyers, by the way. And I turned to her one day and I said, hey, we go to France all the time. We go to Italy all the time. We drink the greatest wines in the world. We should have a place on the West Side that's like our experiences in Europe, particularly in France, because that's the wine region that I love. And so fast forward to where we're at now, we put a little program together, found this little space, my wife found it, and it was an accounting office, believe it or not. And the history of this building is quite unique. The front doors that are open patios doors now for the summertime were originally the police doors for the old Rocky River City Hall.
Really?
Station, and you're sitting in the old fire stations from the 1910, 1920s.
Wow, it's still here.
This building's 100 years old. When we renovated some of these spaces, we found photographs of the Keystone Cops literally standing out front on Old Detroit Road, which is the street I told you about, that was a dirt road with, one little police bubble car and 4 or 5 suit-laden police officers with billy clubs standing out front looking menacing. It was a really unique space. There's a great history here.
It must have good bones. I mean, and clearly you put a lot of time and effort into the space, because you wouldn't know it. You wouldn't know it's 100 plus years old.
Yeah, from the front, it's unassuming, right? You don't really see it. We gardened it up a little bit with some flowers, and our patio season, which we're in the midst of right now, is super popular for people in Rocky River. But when you walk through the doors, there's some throwback. That brick wall that lines the front of the restaurant where you had your birthday celebration with your mom, right? That wall I restored. It's 110 years old brick. Right, and we carbon blasted it to get it back to refurbish it. We glazed it with a protective sealant, and it shows. It's some TLC went into restoring this building to the original to what it is, and we're really proud of kind of what we built here for the community. And we're a small local West Side place, right? And we're proud of being a small local West Side place. We don't want it to be much more than that, and it's been successful for 15 years, and hopefully for 15 more.
Yeah, and when you started out, we were talking earlier about just the immediate success that you had and how that really spurred you to expand the menu. So we want to talk a little bit about kind of that journey, how it started and how it blossomed from there.
Sure. So we got super lucky. When I had my original chef came on as a consultant only. He's a close personal friend, and he owns Soho down on 25th Street, Nolan Kukowski, an amazing chef. And he originally designed a very small sort of European style wine bar menu: cheese plates, fruit plates, small flatbread pizza bites. That was the original concept of Tartine, but great wines, right? There was no bourbon program in 2008. Nobody really cared about Kentucky bourbon.
Exactly.
So it was all Scotch.
Yes.
Right? We were into single malt Scotches when I was in my 30s.
And vodka,
Yeah.
your gins,
Right.
yeah.
I mean, it was different back then, and so, but it's always been about the wine here at Tartine, and the food came sort of second. And in 2008, when we opened, we won Best New Restaurant in Cleveland, and from that point, as you can imagine, it took off, and our culinary scene became demanding, and became, and we built upon it. We expanded the kitchen, we expanded the backspace, which you guys have just seen for the first time tonight, and this room in particular, our bourbon room, we call the Keep Room. It was just a really unique opportunity for us to kind of fit into something that we didn't really expect it to be out of the gate, but it really transitioned nicely. We have been awarded, most romantic restaurant, best patio, best dog friendly. Our wine list, incidentally, is award winning, and that's again what the original inception and idea was built around. Great wines from Europe and California, and particularly our very heavy Bordeaux-centric wines.
We'll go for that.
So yeah, this is a good time because Tartine's wine program is literally award-winning. We're a Tier 2 Wine Spectator Award consistently year after year. There's only about a dozen of those in the entire state of Ohio, and about 6 of those in Cleveland. So we are in rare company with our wine program, and it's often a big part and thanks to Sean Nugent, our certified sommelier. We have 3 sommeliers at Tartine, and Sean leads them all and runs the wine program. And he's a Seattle transplant and a good friend who came here with some common interests and has taken us to the next level of experiences. He puts on wine classes for our guests quarterly or monthly. I'm not sure what it is. We do regional wine dinners that Sean hosts. We do bourbon dinners. Once a quarter or so. Sean will pick
We need to get on that list.
I know, exactly.
Sean will pick a bourbon program or do a compare and contrast or some sort of theme. And our chefs, who are all culinary trained, Les Cordon Bleu trained French chefs, put out some amazing menus, and they are the rave of the town. But it's a little bit under the radar, and we kind of like that.
So like he was saying, I am from Seattle. I lived in San Diego for a few years, and I moved down there with a certified sommelier certificate, and I was like, oh yeah, I can get a job anywhere. We get down there, you're a what? And they're like, we don't care. It's all craft beer down here. They could care less about wine, right? So I'm like, okay, there goes that. Ended up moving out here to work with an old manager of mine who trained me to be a sommelier. And this was November of 2019. So as you can imagine, horrible timing. Restaurant shut down, tried some other things, and sometimes the universe just smiles at you, and this opportunity fell into my lap. So what I'm saying, bringing it back, is this is a hidden gem, and it's been here for 15 years, and there's nothing like this in Cleveland with authentic French cuisine. And I can't take full credit for the wine list right now because it was already immaculate when I showed up. I just had to come in and make sure I don't mess it up, basically, right? So I think I've done a pretty good job of that, but our bourbon list here is unmatched, and
It really is impressive.
I always kind of see Tartine as, back in the 90s when you were listening to music and you found a new band that you liked, right? And you're like, you can't wait to show your friends this new band that you found. That's how
Wait, there were
Tartine
many
is to me.
bands in Seattle, though.
Yeah.
in the
No, not
90s.
that many. No.
We're unfamiliar with what you're talking about.
Literally, I just saw the Foo Fighters at Sonic Temple a week ago,
Foo
and it
Fighters and Red
was.
Hot Chili Peppers was my first concert.
I mean, that's an amazing
But-
first concert. But go ahead.
So what I'm saying is, you remember back in the 90s when you're like, oh my God, I can't wait to show my friends this album, and you're so excited to show them because you're the first one to bring it to them.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I feel Tartine is. They're like, oh my God, there's this amazing, authentic French restaurant that nobody knows about. I can't wait to tell my friends about it. And then they go and tell them, and they bring them back, and they love it.
Well, and if any, if it's any indication with the detail you put into, establishing this, renovating it, creating the list, I mean, I think it says a lot about the food.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, there's a lot of attention to detail. Every time I think I've been here and you've been here, I think the other, and you mentioned it maybe off air, Dean, that it's the staff. Everyone feels welcome. Everyone's very friendly when you walk in. You don't understand something on the menu in terms of what would pair with this. Very friendly to kind of give you some, whatever your price point is. That's the other thing. Sure. You're not forced to get something that maybe isn't in your price range. You feel uncomfortable. And that's a small thing, but I think for some folks that's a big thing.
Well, it's a big thing in the French culinary scene in general, because it's why there's only 5 French restaurants in Cleveland, maybe. Because French cuisine and French wine, it's intimidating to people, and it's often unaffordable, and people think it's a special event or once or twice a year, right? We've tried to bring the bistro style of France, which you said a minute ago, you feel like you're actually there, and that's a big compliment. A lot of French people come here and they're like, I feel like I'm in Paris, right? Like Doug Tratner has specifically said, a little slice of Paris and Rocky River, and this is a huge compliment for these types of comments, because we strive to bring that experience here, and apparently it works.
Absolutely.
And you hear at Tartine, you can buy a $3,000 bottle of wine or a $30 bottle of wine, and it is a price point budgeting thing, that if you feel you want to splurge and have one of the greatest wine experiences of all time, we have it here.
But I will treat that $30 bottle of wine as if it were a $3,000 bottle of wine every time. Doesn't matter.
That's what sets us apart. I mean, truthfully, and we talk about the wine. I mean, how did the bourbon collection become what it is? Because Joe and I can both say the reality is, you go to great restaurants in Cleveland, and they're not even close to what we see
Well,
here.
the question is, do they really care? This guy cares.
Well, oh, yeah.
This guy cares about bourbon. He knows his bourbon. He knows what he likes, and he wants to make sure that list reflects that. Right? A lot of places, I always go back to service versus hospitality. Right? Mm-hmm. There's a difference. Service is anybody can service you. Here's your drink. Boom. But hospitality is caring. Right? Mm-hmm. Going a little bit above and beyond, telling a little bit of a story, getting excited about something. And I think that's what Dean really brings to the table when it comes to
it's a unique thing, because what I built with Tartine, from our Belgian beers to the wine list to now, what's become popular in our bourbon room here and our bourbon program, is things that I actually like, that I want to share with people that don't necessarily know it or get it or have had it. So we go to great lengths to find extremely great bourbons around the country. And like I said at the beginning, when we first opened, single malt scotches were the thing. You could get Blanton's for $40.
Or like I
crazy?
said,
Where you want it.
I was telling him
Nobody
before.
wanted it.
My buddy came from Michigan last night and found it at a gas station liquor store.
Yeah, I know.
Right?
It's
But the reality is that used to be the norm. You could find it anywhere.
And nobody wanted Kentucky bourbons, and then all of a sudden, over the last 10 years, I'd say, Kentucky bourbon has become the go-to drink, and bourbon programs everywhere. Especially our contemporaries around us. Char has a great bourbon program.
We did a show there, actually, yeah.
Soho down in 25th, where I
Yeah.
mentioned Nolan Kokoski,
Yeah.
probably one of the best bourbon programs in all of Cleveland.
Yeah.
And so what I've done is we've curated a list of bourbons that are the best of the best, right? And we also have the mainstream bourbons, of course we do, right? Because everybody wants their go-tos. Everybody knows what they like. I'm a Blanton's guy. I love Blanton's. I have 7 iterations of Blanton's, because that is my jam, right? Like, Blanton's is the thing to me. And some people like Pappy Van Winkle, some people love the Weeded Wellers, some people like Jefferson, some people like Knob Creek, Maker's Mark, right? My best friend Sean.
Whistle Pig back there. Yeah.
Whistle Pig. I mean, everybody has their jam, and I tried to get a collection and build a collection that offers what everybody wants and what everybody likes. And there are times when you feel it's a special event, and you want to pour something special and celebrate something. And I'm all about celebrations, right? Life is short, guys, right? We pick and choose what we spend our time in and how we spend it. I'm
Amen.
a family guy, and
Amen.
my staff here are like family to us, and I think those decisions are important in life, about how we treat each other and how we spend our time, because it's valuable to us. So why not have your favorite bourbon with your friends and your family and your mom and whoever else you are that enjoys it, and just enjoy yourself, right? Because we don't do that often enough in this world, given the polarization of our country today and the world in general, the struggles that everybody's dealing with, like I'm just a big proponent of enjoying the now.
You need to time out every once in a while, right?
Yeah.
Just sit back and have a bourbon.
It's a good point to bring up. So what we're drinking, gentlemen,
what is this?
Yeah, so this is a really special concoction of something that I sort of accidentally blended, and I hope you like it. So it's a traditional old fashioned with, I think, Buffalo Trace we use tonight.
Yep.
But because of my love of wine, we throw a very small splash of Lillet Blanc, a French fortified wine. Lillet Rouge, right? Lillet Rouge. So Lillet Blanc, you'll know from the famous Vesper Martini that James Bond made, right? It's a splash of vodka. It's 3 parts vodka, 1 part gin, and a splash of Lillet Blanc. Shake it. That's the Vesper Martini, and they're delicious. So when so Lillet will fortify white and red wines and make it a little bit aged and a little bit sweetened by the fortification process. So I brought my love of French wines into a blend with my love of an old fashioned, and here we are with a traditional old fashioned with a splash of Lillet Rouge that gives it just a little bit of bitterness and a little bit of extra flavor to it. You still have your Bordeaux cherry and your orange wedge, but it's a delicious cocktail.
It almost tastes a little to me like a Vouqueray. It has a similar taste to me.
Good analysis.
It adds a floral note to
Yes.
it. Definitely.
Yes.
It definitely adds a floral.
It turns it a little reddish, but that's a good thing too.
I love it.
Sean's got a cocktail I think he's going to pour for us a little bit later.
Yeah. So I call it the Burning River. It's I'm going to use Buffalo Trace again, but it's basically bourbon, equal parts simple syrup and lemon juice, a couple dashes of Tabasco, muddled watermelon, and tahini on the rim. So you get that. You get that citrus, you get that salty, you get that spice, you get that freshness from the watermelon, and it's a really fun.
It's a good summer bourbon drink,
It's a
which is
great
not
summer
always
cocktail.
easy to push back.
With whiskey especially, it's kind
So
of.
to that end, Sean can talk a little bit about we do our own individual barrel aging process of some.
Yeah, I just started that program. So actually, we've got some barrels back there. I just loaded up the one that says Tartine Bistro. I just loaded that up today, so I'm doing a barrel aged Last Word. Which Last Word is a classic cocktail from pre-Prohibition. Used to be super popular, kind of lost its way after Prohibition. Funny story about it, however, there was a bartender in Seattle that I knew. His name was Murray Stenson. Murr the Blur, they called him.
With a name like that, he's got to be good.
Love it.
Not the quickest. But you can walk in 10 years after seeing him. He knows exactly where you're drinking, how you want it, blah, 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 right?
Wow.
He had some heart complications, and this just shows how important he was to the community. All of his regulars pitched in and paid for his heart surgery.
Wow.
Yeah. But he brought the Last Word back. So if you Google Last Word on Wikipedia, it says Murray Stenson, Seattle, 2004, brought it back, blah, blah, blah. Wow. So every bar that I've ever worked at, I try to throw that on the menu. Just
And what's it?
a little
Yeah, I'm actually not familiar with that drink.
The Last Word, it's a gin-based cocktail. So it's 2 ounces gin. Basically, it's equal gin and green chartreuse. And then you throw in some lime juice, a little Luxardo, and that's it. So it's almost like a martini, but it has this fluorescent green colored look to it. It's delicious. It's fun. It's fun. It's citrus. It's the green chartreuse brings that herbalness to it. So it's got a lot of dimensions and stuff like that. But it's great.
What's your favorite? If you had,
What's my favorite cocktail?
if somebody was going to give you some bourbon and you wanted to do a cocktail, what would be making yourself one at home?
Ooh, that's tough. Tumbleton Rye.
And what cocktail?
Cocktail, I would probably go Boulevardier, I think.
Yeah, those are good.
Boulevardier.
French classic.
Yeah.
Those are good.
Which is something I want to do barrel aged as well. I want to do Boulevardier, I want to do
That's
Manhattan, I want to do all the classics.
I'm a
But this is the
Sazerac
first Sazerac. I love
Wow.
Sazeracs too.
Yeah.
That's my brother's drink. That's my brother's
Yeah.
drink. Yeah.
I'm an old fashioned. I mean, it's classic. And what I love is every place we go, there's something different. And
Yes.
you've introduced a whole new, like a new way to present it. That honestly, that extra little bit. It's a nice twist. And I did not check. I mean, is this is the way that you provide it?
Yeah. If you order it, well, it's not really. It's just a Dean signature
It's
drink.
the animal.
So you know
it's
when
on
the
the
order
animal
comes
menu.
in and they go and I sit down and you know my bartenders are like, is it the usual tonight, Dean? I'm like, yeah, it's good. Unless I switch something up, but you know it's usually something.
He
that
wants
I,
a beef tartare in there.
I always get the beef tartare here, which is
Love it.
so we have two signature dishes at Tartine that are absolutely the best I've had in the world. And I've been to France a lot, right? So our beef tartare and our French onion soup. Two very classic traditional.
It's my wife's favorite here.
I know if she loves it.
French cuisine.
Yeah.
You know, bistro, casual foods.
Yeah.
Those are street foods in France almost, right?
Yeah.
They're bistro style, casual cafe foods.
Yeah.
And ours are some of the best I've had in the world. So
Well-
if you ever come back for dinner, order a French onion soup and a beef tartare and an old fashioned. Joe, you won't be disappointed.
That's the
your
that's
night
the
is
move.
complete, man. Yeah.
I think the cool thing, and I think the way I would describe Tartine, if you think about, you know, wine's meant to be shared. Bourbon's the same way. You know, bourbon is a drink to, you know, open up with your friends and enjoy a bottle and that sort of thing. And I think, you know, what a great and almost obvious pairing between wine and bourbon. You know, it kind of serves the same sort of purpose. And I think, you know, to that extent, I mean, your collection is amazing. And one thing you said, and Joe and I have experienced this firsthand, we often do blind tastings.
Yeah.
And
It's really hard.
It's real. Well, it is hard. You're exactly right, because people have to bring it in the bag, and you can kind of tell. Sometimes it's, you know, you have to mask the bottle. But what it tells us, and you probably know what I'm going to say, it's the same thing with wine. Everyone gets hung up on the labels, but when you take the labels away, you just drink it. And our best example of this was when we did the one at your house, in fact. And I was mentioning, I think, Sean, to you, the Boom Boom Bourbon. And people ranked it number 2. It beat out.
It beat out Old Rip.
Dude, really?
Old
Yeah.
Rip was 3. Blanton's was 1.
Once you
Actually,
pull that label away.
That
but
was the
Blanton's
thing.
was
People just
1,
liked
which
the
is
taste.
that's my favorite. And quite honestly, it's funny because we've been in multiple tastings where Blanton's just wins. And then when we actually did. It was March Madness.
Oh, we
And
did one of those too. That was a
There
different
was
one.
12 bottles, and we had a little taste, and we would go one.
Micro taste, or we would.
We would try each one against
It
each
would
other.
be a short night.
But long story short, it ended up Pappy 15 versus Blanton's Gold, and Pappy 15 won. I actually think if it was the regular Pappy or the regular Blanton's, I think it would have won.
But
I think the little extra heat.
Blanton's 15's a little hot. Blanton's Gold's a little hot.
It's a little hot, and I think that little extra heat is the difference.
But we did it by state, and we had Seekers, you know, out of Sandusky. It was a great bourbon. It was actually doing well. There were a few like that. One out of New York, I think, that did well. Ones that, you know, you probably pass on an aisle, but it was just, we just bought them because they were from a different state. Let's give them a try. It was fun.
It's funny you say that. You know, in pricing and cost is
Yeah.
also something that you don't have to spend $5,000 on a bottle of Pappy 20 or 15 when you can get a bottle of Weller.
Yeah,
you know,
same mash bill.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're exactly right.
Yeah.
The weeded bourbons,
Yeah.
and the same goes for Eagle Rare, one of my favorite
Yeah.
go-tos. Right. I mean, $80 if you can find it, $70-$80 if you can find it, but it's absolutely a fantastic bourbon to drink. And
For
you
the
don't
money.
you don't have to spend $300-$400 on a bottle to have a really great bourbon experience. And you know, there are people that love to come in and order, you know, a Pappy 23, and we have it. If that's what you want, we have it. But if you speaking of blind tastings, if you put a Pappy 23 next to an Eagle Rare or I love Jefferson's. If you put it next to
I
a
do too.
Jefferson single barrel, right, or a small batch,
Yep.
you're going to be hard. And if you blind taste it, you're going to. Not many people will be able to tell you which is which.
And that's the beauty of it. And I think you touched.
proof levels the same, right?
Yep.
Because
What's your favorite? What's your preference when you go for proof?
Are you all
I'm a
over?
low proof guy.
We are too. We're in 90s.
I'm around the 90s. High
yeah.
proof is like the thing right now.
Yeah.
So we have a locker collection here. We didn't talk about our
I was just about to ask, but yeah, tell us about this.
So this is the keep proof, and in the Prohibition times, the bars and restaurants in New York and New Jersey, they had a keep room or a keep locker program, where you could secretly keep your stash, and when you know Joey, you come into the bar and the bartender knew you, like,
Let me grab your bottle
What was
for
your
you.
buddy's name?
Mur the Blur.
Mur the Blur.
Blur.
Joe's here, and I'm gonna open locker number 16, and he's gonna get his pour of Buffalo Trace or whatever it is, or Sazerac is what I look at. So I said, hey, my best friend Sean and I were want to hang out other than at our houses. So I built the keep room around having a place for, people to get together and enjoy a bottle of bourbon. And we have a refrigerated wine section too, but the vast majority of our locker system here in the keep room is bourbon collections, and it's a private members only room. Again, off the radar. Not many people know about it. It's relatively affordable, and you pay an annual fee, and you get access to the room for 4-hour chunks. Special menu. You can have dinner in here with your wives, your friends, your family.
We'll help you find your bourbons that you're looking for.
We can source any bourbon you want and keep it in your locker.
And let me say, looking at what you have just here,
Oh my God!
Present. I mean, those are the most sought after the most sought after bourbons. So there's this how does somebody go about it? Just inquire?
So Sean and our director of operations, general manager Sarah, who you guys met, coordinated this event with, they're both available to take an application. You put a credit card on file and you get a locker, and every year we charge a card, and you get access to it. You get a special gift when you sign up of some sort of special bourbon. But Sean does some special event tastings back here for members. You can sign up to have a night out of you could do a special bourbon comparison night if you wanted to have Jefferson's.
You can also come to me and say, hey, I'm looking for this. Can you find it for me? I'll take some time and see where it is. If it's available in the state, if it is, I'll try to make it happen. If not, then make some phone calls and whatever.
Well, for the record, I would like to apply and have consideration. Have consideration,
because we're this is technically a private room and a private club, we can smoke. So I have a cigar program back here, and this room is ventilated and blows the air out. And if you don't mind, my friend, hand me that box right there on top of the little cigar locker. So we have a collection of, believe it or not, Pappy Van Winkle cigars.
Oh my God!
Right, the Drew Estates. If you're a cigar guy, so Drew Estates in Puerto Rico has teamed up with Pappy Van Winkle, and they barrel age their tobacco in Van Winkle barrels, right? And they put out some of the best cigars you can find.
Can I be the first to say what took us 3 years to get to Tartine?
I know exactly.
This is an outrage.
Well, you never had a Pappy Van Winkle cigar before? So you can have and these are the cigars.
Pappy Van Winkle walks through out of the grave.
The ghost of Pappy. You could have a personal tasting with the ghost of Pappy in this
room. If we're
room.
going to talk about cigars, you might as well talk about this, right?
Yeah, right. So our cigar trays are unique. Again, this comes down to a little bit of just kind of things I like in life that I think I want to share with other people, right? So this is a sample of what you get if you wanted to order off the Pappy cigar service while you're drinking some Pappy or some. My preference to be some Blanton's, but so back in ancient times, the Japanese
back in the 1900s,
the Japanese samurais figured out that stingray skin was the toughest leather armor you could make, and they made their armor out of cured stingray skin. And it's often shown in the Caribbean because stingrays are popular down there. But this cigar set is ensconced in mother of pearl in the ashtray, but also it's all stingray skin, and so is the table. And it is one of the most durable hard leathers you can possibly get. And if you look closely, you'll see stingray has like a stinger on the back, right?
Oh yeah.
And each little strip has a little stingray. There's more to your left and to your right, but. So as part of our cigar program, you get the stingray skin ashtray and the mother of pearl access to it. It just gives a little bit of elegance and fun to the story of enjoing things you like in life, right? Let's splurge a little bit here.
Absolutely. Well, I think that's one of the things.
It doesn't burn either, which is also great.
It's a must.
What's really awesome is that everything here, it's not just a great place to have dinner and have some drinks, but everything was so well thought out. I mean, the vision that you had has turned into, even this room. I mean, this is something you added, but it's you put it best. This is a hidden gem that people just need to know about. Honestly.
Again, Joe, it's about hospitality versus service. We at Tartine promote the hospitality experience,
Our
right?
staff
You're
is
never
so
going to
much
be disappointed about your time here. I mean, and you can get service anywhere, no doubt. Somebody can serve you your drink and serve you your food. But
Yep.
hospitality versus service is a big distinction in this industry, and in the hot, fast-paced world of, in my opinion, going too fast sometimes, the hospitality element is lost. So
Like
we
I- like
slow
I said,
down,
our staff
like the
cares.
Europeans and like
Yeah.
the French do.
Yeah.
We slow down
Mhm.
and we offer hospitality, and I think you see it in all the different facets of what we offer here.
And before we get into the bourbon, Dean, there's the other aspect I think to Tartine that I was fortunate enough to see last time I was here is the whole back part of your restaurant.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that and how folks can inquire about that and what it can offer.
So we started in the front of the building, in the main restaurant where you've been before, having monthly celebratory wine dinners. This started with an old manager of ours, the Cleveland famous Johnny McDonald. Johnny McDonald was a legend in the Cleveland restaurant scene. He's retired now and he's happy in Florida and doing what he's doing, but he said to me, you know, we should pick a region of France and we should have a dinner for 40 people. This was 15 years ago, guys, and I said, that's a great idea. Let's do that. And they were sold out every month.
Wow.
We put one big family. When I was walking the streets of Italy one year, we were in a small, tiny village in Montepulciano, and it was a Sunday night, right? And you're a paisano, Joe. Like, there was a street table of 100 people, one big long table,
Oh, yeah.
and they were all having Sunday supper at 4 o'clock in Montepulciano. And my wife and I are like,
Love it.
that's the coolest thing I've ever seen. We don't do that in Cleveland. Well, let's do that now, right?
Yeah.
So for a long time pre-pandemic, we had our monthly wine dinner services where our staff would pick a region of France, typically, pair the wines with a great menu of Provence or the Rhone Valley or even culinary scene from Paris. And we would pair it with great wines and we would have a really fun event. We spun off to Italy and Spain and other great European areas. We do the Pacific Northwest salmon dinner once a year. We do 4 bourbon dinners a year in this same theme. So it got so big and popular that we decided we needed more space, right? So we took over the rest of the building.
Oh, so that wasn't part of the
Wasn't
original.
part of the space
Interesting.
originally. You came through some curtains, the area behind the curtains, as they say, and we built this space out about 5 or 6 years, 7 years ago now. And we have 3 private dining areas in the back here. We can seat anywhere from an intimate dinner to 10 to 110.
And a patio too.
And a rear back patio with gas flames and a covered awning. Yeah, it's like a garden setting.
Fire pits, all the
Yeah, it's really a remarkable space, and we can do anything from a 4 to 6 person intimate anniversary or engagement dinner to up to a 100-person sit down catered event of a space that you want. We do a lot of work with a lot of the businesses and sports franchises here in Cleveland that have private events, and they travel around and do stuff like that. So
That's what I
we're a
was
great
gonna say.
venue for it.
Especially now we're post-pandemic, I definitely feel like this is something that, you know, you're starting to see more businesses go out and have more events, and this is
to the
Yeah.
absolutely.
We all
and-
agree on that.
but that being said, this is, you know, once again another opportunity. You know, you want to have dinner with your family, that's one thing. You want to do a private event. I mean, this is, you know, offers a lot of great spaces.
That's right.
I've fallen in love with this bourbon room. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, I know. Oh, I know.
Joe, you're welcome anytime.
I know.
and I'll tell you, it's interesting. So, like, you know, you're well traveled. This guy's going to Italy. I'm going to England and France here, and actually a little bit over a week. So I think so we need. You're not just going to talk to us about your great place, but at some point we need.
Oh
to,
yes. Before we leave, we're going to talk.
off air.
Both countries and where to go to get the best wines and the best food.
I was gonna say because
They don't love bourbon. They don't love bourbon in Europe.
no,
I was
we
in France recently, and I did a little tour of some smaller villages, some smaller towns, and you know the wines. Here's the dynamic of that. You get, Sean, you'll appreciate this. You get a bottle of Chateau Margaux, 2000, right? One of the best vintages of Bordeaux ever, for $89, and you're just like,
an
that's
$800
a $1,000 bottle
At
in
least,
the
yeah.
States. It's $90. Where I was
Is it
sitting
really
at this old
Chateau
bistro.
Margaux though?
It is. And so, but then on the other hand, you're looking at the list and they have Jack Daniels is their only whiskey.
Yes!
Oh, I know.
Right? And they think that's the greatest whiskeys on the world.
So when I was laughing, I went to India for work about 6 months ago, and they were so excited because they're like, we have bourbon, and I go, awesome.
This is great.
What do you have?
What's your selection?
And
Johnny
they said,
Walker.
Jim Beam.
Yeah.
And Maker's Mark.
Yep.
And they thought they had the best selection.
They're the
And
most
it was the best selection in
That's
India.
the American experience, right?
Oh, yeah, I appreciate
like
it.
flip the tide here and flip the scales, right? Like that's the American experience to them. They want Jim Beam, Johnny Walker, and Jack Daniels, and we want Blanton's, the Japanese. We want the Japanese market Blanton's Black Label that we can't get in the
Exactly.
States. Like that's the difference. It's a really cool dynamic, and I think it's exciting. I like that, and I'm not one to pass up a Jack Daniels or a Jim Beam.
Oh, no, not at all.
Right?
No, I was fine with it, but it's
for
just.
25 cents a shot.
It's all.
But the same applies to the wine world over
Right.
there. The
Wines that we covet that we covet here are readily available and relatively affordable to them, and it's just like Main Street. They pass it up. They'd rather drink a Harlan Estate Napa Cab, one of the best, or
'Cause they can't
a
get it.
Screaming Eagle Napa Cab,
Yeah.
because it's an American.
Grass is always greener on the other side, right?
Sean, why don't you prep our next
So we
cocktail?
do the next
your
cocktail?
specialty.
All right, let's do the Burning River.
And-
Let's-
Where is your family from in Italy?
My family is from a small village in Sicily called San Agata de Militello, which is a small fishing village outside of Palermo.
Okay.
And my entire family immigrated. My grandparents immigrated from Sicily in the early
Both
1900s.
sides?
Yep. And there's a great Valori Italian family story to tell here. It's much longer than we have time for. But back in the day, my family owned a butcher shop down in what was called Big Italy.
Yeah.
Little Italy. It was the spin-off. It was like the extra, the wherever.
Isn't it over where Orlando Bread is in that sort of area?
So Big Italy was 9th from East 9th to East 14th in Woodland,
Oh,
where the
okay.
post office is downtown.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Was the old Italian neighborhood where all the immigrants came. Think of like the movie, Sean, what's the Leonardo DiCaprio,
Gangs of New York.
Right? Think of that movie when New York was like being built.
Yep.
Cleveland was kind of the same at that time. And so the Italian immigrants landed in one place. The Irish immigrants landed in West Park pretty much. And you had all these different communities. And my family, we had a butcher shop, long story short, in Big Italy, what was known as Big Italy. Valori Brothers Meats, it was called. And my dad, who's 86 and still with us, and we call my dad the mayor of Tartine, right? Because he thought this was the worst idea. My dad's also a lawyer, guys, right? So think of this. I'm a lawyer. My dad's a lawyer. I'm a lawyer. My wife's a lawyer. I come from a family of lawyers. And I'm like, hey, Dad, I want to open this restaurant. That's the dumbest idea you've ever had. And we're an Italian family, Joe. You get this, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's the dumbest idea
There's a lot
you've
of
ever
yelling.
had. Yeah, a lot of yelling. He goes, you're not going to make a penny there. This is
Get
the
outta
worst thing you've
here.
ever had.
Get outta
It's going to
here.
fail within a year. Well, here we are 15 years later, and guess who our biggest fan is? The mayor of Tartine. He walks around and goes, hey, this is my son's place. This is the greatest.
It was all my idea.
It was all my idea. Hey, you want this? Let me
I'm
get it.
confused.
And they'll turn to Sean and they'll go, Sean, get those guys something. And they'll be like, all right. There's nothing better than actually plan. I know your dad's passed away, but there's nothing better than a family trip back to find your heritage and your roots,
Absolutely.
right? We're all immigrants, right?
Absolutely.
Here's an incidental story. I own Immigrant Sun Brewery, which is around the corner. In Lakewood.
Really?
Because I'm an immigrant son. I'm an Italian immigrant, and my partner Andrew Reevy, who runs the place, came to me and he's like, "We need to open a brewery. This is the great." And he's a Hungarian immigrant. His father fled Hungary in 1956 during the Hungarian Revolution and came to Cleveland.
Wow.
So we have a lot in common about our ancestry and our history. And Cleveland is a melting pot of immigrants, right? We are, and I'm a huge proponent of the immigration policy, liberal immigration policies in the States, because that's how our families came here and why we have the lives we have today, right?
Yeah.
And so we built Immigrant Sun Brewery. I'm doing a little promo pitch for another one of
I was
my.
gonna say.
We built Immigrant Sun
Stop
Brewery
it.
based
Yeah.
on this sort of theory, right? And this
Absolutely.
thing that we embrace. And Cleveland is unique in the country. It's not like Seattle. It's not like anywhere in Texas. It's not like anything in Florida. think of those states and what they're going through right now. And
Careful
think
what
of
you say about Seattle.
I know, brother. And think of like Cleveland as being, what we are today and how we all got here.
Yeah.
And so it's giving back to the different cultures of what we have.
And we're so multi-generational here.
For sure.
I mean, there's people. I mean, I left Cleveland, came back when I had a family, and because it was, I had family here. I wanted them to be around their cousins or their uncle, their aunt, that sort of thing. And Cleveland's home.
Yeah, and it's funny. We were just a good friend of ours, Ed visited us. We were just talking about this last week about immigrants on.
Have you been?
And I've been there. I love it. It's fantastic.
The beers are great. So in a
I mean,
year-
the beers are great, and it's a really cool vibe. And we literally talked about we got to get everyone just go do a happy hour and have dinner. And
Set that up.
So it's
Wait till you talk to my partner Andrew Revio. That guy's a dynamic talker. You'll love him. Sure, Sean, tell us what we're drinking next.
Yes.
What we're drinking. So this is my signature cocktail. This is called the Burning River. So this is muddled watermelon, Buffalo Trace whiskey, a little lemon juice, a little simple syrup, a couple dashes of Tabasco, and a house-made tahini that our bartender made. Which I love this drink.
That is good stuff. Did you try the
What'd you put Buffalo
pepper on
Trace?
the
oh
side?
yeah.
Cheers, gentlemen.
That's
Cheers.
pepper.
Cheers.
correct?
It's called a tahini.
Tahini, I'm sorry.
Tahini is a
Cheers.
chili,
Cheers.
Mexican chili seasoning, usually with dehydrated lime. But our bartender made his own version of it with some lime, some chili, and
That's a summer drink.
Oh my God.
great summer.
You know,
drink.
nice and
it's got
refreshing.
some spice.
And that's what I love.
Bourbon drink, which is hard.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, it's super hard.
Yeah.
It's funny. It's like we were down on the Bourbon Trail, went to Justin's House of Bourbon, and when we went there, got a little bourbon room there.
Let me
We're trying
preface before he
drinks.
says this: our wives don't like bourbon.
Yeah, mine.
Yet we
I was
have a
just
show.
gonna
Mine either.
Well, exactly. So like 4 guys like bourbon, 4 wives have no interest. No interest.
I totally get it.
And what was great is we're doing tasting. What do you want to try?
Yeah.
And the reality was he made an outstanding drink. They had no idea there was bourbon in it. and that's the beauty of it. When you there's so many
We don't endorse that, by the way.
So you
There's so
can't
many
tell this
opportunities.
is a bourbon drink.
You have no idea. You have no idea.
It's got some spice. It's got a little refreshing watermelon flavor, and when the
But not overly warm.
right, which can be
And
like
not overly
fruity,
spicy either.
drinky.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, a testament to the staff here at Tartine, especially Sean and his beverage program. Like, I've been to a lot of places. We all have, and when you're getting something not good, but more importantly, when you're getting something great.
Oh yeah.
And that's
Absolutely.
what we like putting out here, and we've consistently done it year after year. And I'm just super proud of this place. Glad you guys could come in and join us.
We've said it. I think every show we've done. I think that you can tell a bad bartender as well. That are just. I mean, I've had drinks at places where I think they think, well, if I make it strong, he'll like it.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not 20. And I ordered a cocktail.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I order shots. But we have gone places. We've talked about this for the bartender because they just make fantastic drinks.
I know exactly what you mean. I will follow somebody around to make sure I get the experience.
Absolutely.
Because
And you have that here.
I do.
Yeah.
We do. And that's a testament to this team. And it's hard to find right now. You know the industry.
Honestly, it's ridiculous
Yep.
when you go to places where you have to wait and you see tables open and you just go, this is a sad scenario.
Places just don't get it.
Nope.
No. And there's famous ones and there's not so famous ones, but we put a lot of effort into that hospitality theme and that element and that production, and I think it shows.
Well, I would also say, I mean, clearly your staff, you brought it up earlier, the creativity. I mean, this is not a drink I've ever had, ever. And the mix of that, it's refreshing, but it's got a little spice. And that's the part that I sit there and go, most people would never try that to even put it together, and it's a fantastic drink.
We've learned more through this show, upping our bitters game.
Oh my God,
I mean,
Matt Mars is the bitters guru.
you know Matt.
He is, I do, yeah. He's a
I
good
mean,
friend.
he's pulling out
He
different
is the
things.
bitters guru.
Yeah, I'm like,
I'm like, this is my Vucare. I'm drinking. I'm like, my God. I'm like, what did you put in this? There's chocolate taste, and cherry.
And that's saying something about Matt because his wine knowledge is up there with
Oh,
anybody
yeah,
else in Cleveland,
absolutely.
and his bitters expertise.
I'm like,
Oh my God!
Experienced it. It's
I
fantastic.
felt like I've been making drinks wrong my whole life, right?
When you go
And-
to exactly when you go to Shea, just like Tartine, like wine is
Is
It's
one
why
of the
most
main,
people go. It's why a lot of people go.
it's usually the number one reason.
and what was the thing we learned out at Sandusky? The substitute for the egg.
What's the name?
It was chickpeas. Yeah.
Oh, that's the aquafaba.
Aquafaba?
Aquafaba, thank
yes,
you.
yes, yes.
So the juice of the garbanzo can is aquafaba.
Yes.
And it's actually, most people discard it. You open a can of garbanzo beans, right? This is a Greek thing too. You open up a can of garbanzo beans or something, and you pour out, you rinse it. You rinse it off and you put it in a colander and you discard the aquafaba. That stuff is liquid gold.
Oh yeah.
It's like a thick, viscous kind of like juice that the garbanzos are made in, and you make drinks out of it.
It foams it up. So any drink you normally have,
It's totally
egg
vegan.
whites or
Yep.
you know, I don't like this. I mean, it's a smell for me. It gives the same consistency, a similar taste, but not the smell.
One of my favorite
That
bourbon
is
drinks
favorite.
is the whiskey sour. I'm a
Yeah.
hardcore go-to whiskey sour.
That's all. That's old school.
But I love the egg white on the top of the whiskey sour. That's often why I get it, right? And I've had the fee foam, which I talked about a minute ago. I've had the aquafaba version.
Yep.
To me, they're just not the same, but they are an excellent substitute if you don't want to have the
Exactly.
smell or the protein of the egg.
All right, so we've talked about a lot about Tartine. So one of the things we have here, it looks like the Holy Bible. All right, of bourbon.
First of all, it's a leather-bound book. So
it's-
would you expect anything less from Tartine?
Not at all. Not at all.
I have many leather-bound books in my home.
And they
Name
all
that
smell
movie.
of
Well,
rich-
is it-
rich mahogany?
Is it?
See, he got it. He got it.
Is it Stingray or is it?
That's pure cowhide.
This is outstanding. Well, all joking aside,
but-
it's a huge selection.
It's amazing. So talk to us about this selection, because I mean that's truly. We talked about the wine. How did this come about?
All D. That is all D.
Yeah, so that's 15
So many
years.
options.
That's 15 years of collecting. Well, I'd say 10 years now of collecting Kentucky bourbon. There's a page or two on rye. There's a page or two on single malts. There's some Japanese whiskeys in there, which
Irish.
people like. Yeah, some Irish
I'm
whiskeys.
starting to like those.
So the Japanese
Yeah.
whiskeys, they know what they're doing, but it's hot.
Yes.
You know, we were talking about the Blanton's collection a minute ago, and we've got we've got the cream label and the black label, which are Japanese markets only, right?
Yeah.
And they're only available here in the keep room. We can't sell them outside because that's not.
Yeah,
it's,
can't, yeah.
it's not kosher with liquor laws. But you know, the Japanese love higher proofs. And
Yeah.
we were talking a minute ago. The four of us, or the three of, I don't know, Sean, you didn't chime in, but you know, I don't prefer super hot whiskeys that are 120 proof.
Weller Foolproof is the only thing I can
Well,
I can enjoy.
Well,
Yeah.
Weller Foolproof in Stag. George C. Stag is a
Stag's
high
high proof
proof.
is excellent.
It's a high proof, but it's definitely smooth on the way down. I always joke around. Whatever science they figured out,
Agreed.
they figured out well.
So we just basically have compiled over a 10-year time period, you know, my favorite bourbons and whiskeys that are in there. And I've scoured the planet for the keep room here to find some really unique whiskeys that you just don't see and you can't find anywhere else. Cleveland in particular, we have St. Cloud.
Yeah, you mentioned it earlier, Dean. I have not heard of this.
This is a really unique bourbon.
Look at that.
Really cool story behind it. It's a guy who spun off from one of the I believe the Angel Envy distillery and opened his
I love the
own
bottles.
and
Isn't that great?
put that out. It's about $175 a bottle if you can find it, and that's our second bottle. I don't think it's cracked open, but it's just a pretty, you know, part of bourbon. It's like a car.
Yes.
Part of it is the presentation and the
Yes,
shell,
true.
right? What's under the hood is different in my mind.
And also finding it and getting your hands on it too, right?
That's part of the
Well,
fun.
that's part of the fun. Right?
And
It's
exactly.
the hunt, right? The hunt.
I like the hunt.
Yeah,
that's a great way to put it,
Yeah.
Sean. Like
Yeah.
I love the hunt, and I love the story behind it. You know, a 7-year aged bourbon is pretty old. I mean,
Yep, absolutely.
can't be excluded.
Yeah.
Not much else is 7 or 8 older than 7 or 8 years.
Agreed.
I've been reading a lot about this. If you really want to do bourbon, if you were going to start your own, bourbon distillery, you don't want it to go to the 10 and 12 and 15. You really don't, because it ends up becoming either so diluted or so high proof it ruins it.
You can't, it's undrinkable.
Yes.
So you find that sweet spot
You
at
do.
what, 7 years?
I think the sweet spot is 6 to 7 years.
Yeah.
So we put a book together of some ultra rare bourbons to all the mainstream things that we think that people like, and it all comes back to me to like offering what everybody what I think is great and what people should really try to experience in life. That's kind of what our bourbon program is about, and again we talked about this, but getting together with people that you care about, spending quality time with people in a room like this where. You don't have to be anywhere. You don't have to check in anywhere. You can throw your cares aside and you can enjoy some really great bourbon and food and conversation. That's what this room and this back space is all about.
I know. I gotta admit, and how do you,
Sean, I mean,
Look, he's
I've known him 50 years. At this
pretty
point.
consistent in the last 50 years.
but it really, I really do. I totally agree, and I think when you talk about like hospitality, part of it is knowing your customer. And when we look at what you displayed, I mean, those are the most sought after bourbon. Like there are so many bourbons out there, but when you talk about the Buffalo Trace, just family of bourbons, it's you guys. You have them all out there. And I mean,
Sorry, what I love about my job is meeting somebody and they're like, "This is what I like to drink."
Yep.
And then finding something that they've never tried before, opening up their horizons a little bit. Oh, you like this because of these reasons. Why don't you try this? And then I'm like, oh my goodness, this is amazing.
The same goes
and
to
all
wine.
of a sudden,
the same goes to wine, right?
Like
Like
all
you
of a
can
sudden,
say, I love Pinot
moment,
Noir, right?
Yeah.
Well, hey, you love Pinot Noirs. And
Why don't you
have these
try
wines. Try
this?
Try Gigondas or something.
See, I like that.
And that's you're dealing with either sommelier or you're dealing with somebody at the
We're not trying
bar.
to sell you on the
No,
most
no, no.
expensive
But you're
bar.
like,
We're
what do you
trying
like?
to-
I'm trying to show you something new and it's
Expand the
along-
experience.
And everybody's like, wow, this is great. I can't believe I've never had this before.
I've done bourbon tastings at my house. Like I did one for my wife and her. She
He
works.
doesn't like bourbon, though.
Right,
Yeah.
doesn't like bourbon.
Nor did Katie and Jody. do
You'll
not
love
like
you'll love
bourbon.
this, but it was her office. She's also a Key Bank employee. I can't mention her name, Jody Vitale. Of course, it's my last name. But she invited her staff and their husbands. It was really for the husbands. But the wife
This is an officially sanctioned Key Bank event.
It was not officially Key Bank.
Sounds like it was.
Totally
That's a disclaimer for legal.
totally
This is not a
underground.
key bank section.
Key Bank.
Yeah.
No, but it was fun because some of the ladies, as they were trying the different, I went up and down the heat scale and different. And I said, if you don't like bourbon, this is your chance to figure out what kind of bourbon you like. And so we went through it, and I was like, well, which do you like? Like I like this one, this one, this one. Okay, so I can tell you right now, your heat is 85 to 92. So when you go somewhere, ask them, do you have something with a little less heat? I'm looking at this proof, and then they can recommend something for you. Do you like vanilla? I like the vanilla taste. Great. You tell.
Some caramel flavors, something richer like a dark
Don't
rye.
be afraid to tell
what you like.
Exactly,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
And then someone like yourself will recommend something different you never
absolutely,
tried
absolutely.
before.
And I've had
That's the
people-
skill set. That's the training these
Yeah,
guys
and
have.
I've had people like, I've recommended a wine, right? And they're like, ooh, that's too much. And then they feel weird for saying that it's too much. It's like, no, like, thank you for letting me know what
Exactly.
price range I have to work with. Now I can hone in
Yeah.
and tell you exactly what I think.
And I think you guys both touched on it. There's, within the price range, whether it's wine, whether it's bourbon, you can find great offerings throughout all of it.
Absolutely.
And at Tartine, we're really sensitive to not upselling somebody on something just because it's expensive.
It's unnecessary.
Right.
It's unnecessary is a great word.
Yeah.
You tell us what you like, tell us what you prefer, tell us what you want to pair it with, tell us what you're eating, and our staff will give you something that you will not be
We want to
disappointed.
make sure you have a good time. It has
Like
nothing
what
to
full
be,
welcome there, right?
like,
Yeah.
We'll make money regardless. That's fine. But as long as you're having a good time and you're enjoying. For me, sitting around a dinner table is magical, right? Like it's a time where everybody can kind of press pause on life and have a conversation with people. One of my favorite games to play when I used to be a server is, okay, there's a big group. Everybody throw your cell phones in the middle of the table. Whoever
Oh my
reaches for your
God,
cell phone
Sean.
first, you pay for the bill. Talk, go, right? And people
a good idea.
That's my dog. It's funny.
Watch our
People love
kids.
that.
Watch our young kids do that.
They will blow their mind.
Disconnected for
No
2
chance.
seconds.
No chance.
Yeah.
No chance.
It's a fun game to play, and it encourages people to talk. That's what the dinner table is supposed to be. Is you sit around, we talk about you like my cocktail I made, cool, let's talk about it, right? Like you don't need to Google what a watermelon is, right? Let's talk
Right.
about it, so.
So this has been fantastic, by the way, tonight, and we can't thank you enough before we go, obviously, and thank you enough for your hospitality. We wanted to throw it back to you. I know you said you had a special bottle that you wanted us to take a taste of. So what do you have?
You know, here's the thing. We love life, right? We're bourbon aficionados, and you know, there's nothing better than the Cadillac, the gold standard of all bourbons, the Pappy 23.
Everyone who comes to Tartine, by the way, gets a free bottle. Pappy Van Winkle. That's what Sean told us when we walked in.
You buy a locker, you get a
No, buy 9 lockers. Buy a locker, we'll show you the bottle.
Someone tells me the locker price just went up.
Well, this literally is the most sought after, most expensive price point bourbon in the world, right? Pappy 23-year age Kentucky bourbon. I think we should close the night.
I've got snifters.
Oh my God.
I want to grab those 5 snifters.
It's very,
including our camera crew.
it's
right?
very generous.
Actually,
And my manager, and
I
my
need one more. Is there 5 there?
And because Sean's a sommelier and knows how to pour, he's gonna pour it on.
Yeah, we knew.
There's nothing like having a night here where you can have a cigar. If you look closely at the label of old Rip Van Winkle here, right? He had these classic Churchills, 7-inch, skinny Van Winkle cigars that I don't know the history enough to tell you where in the 1800s he got his cigars, but the fact that the Drew Estate and the Pappy Van Winkle family, his progeny, have teamed up to make these cigars, and we offer them here. They're not cheap, but we offer them. It's such an iconic moment to have this cigar, this bourbon, and sit out on our patio or in this room or the back patio on a Saturday night in July in Cleveland.
Absolutely.
Nobody else is doing it.
Absolutely.
Nobody.
And what a life experience, if you ask me. This is what life's about. Our philanthropy and our giving back and sort of the community that we talked about an hour ago at the beginning of this conversation is what makes us successful.
Absolutely.
Here, I would not be in this place in Rocky River if it weren't for the community we live in. And so I'm very happy to give back and donate things and raise money for the right causes. So I appreciate you guys very much. You know, you're drinking the allegedly perhaps one of the finest bourbons in the world. So enjoy that.
Cheers, everyone.
I've never had Pappy before.
Well, you're having
This
it right
is
now.
This is the top of the Pappy.
possibly the greatest ending to any Suburban Bourbon show ever.
I've had this one other time. We made it, gentlemen.
Liquid gold, they say.
Oh, that's smooth.
That is smooth stuff.
So Pappies are unique in the world, but they're weed like Weller and the Stillet. What's it? There's a history to it. This is a weeded bourbon. Most 90%, 80-90% of bourbons, you guys know this, are corn based mash bills, right? But Pappy and Weller and there's a couple of others that make them. Larceny makes a weeded bourbon. Makers, I think, is a weeded bourbon, and they make them from they ferment from wheat rather than corn.
Buffalo Trace does one too, I think, right?
We have one bottle.
We have one
of
bottle,
Buffalo Trace weeded bourbon.
which is the only
Normally it's all
Ohio,
corn
I
based.
think.
One of my favorite Buffalo Trace products, if you guys haven't had it, and we have a lot of it here, they make the equivalent of like an Everclear, like a grain alcohol, and it's called the Sour Mash number one.
White mash, yeah.
White mash.
Yep.
So we made
Buffalo Trace white
some
mash.
really great cocktails, and you can't sip that. It's super high.
Our bartender,
You can't
Thomason,
sip it.
made an
She
awesome
did.
cocktail.
You can't sip it.
You can't sip it. It's so hot. It's so intense.
Wow.
You guys deserve it. Thanks for your work. This is great. Great that the Joes are putting
Dean,
this stuff
we
out.
can't thank you enough. I mean, we're clearly not a professional operation, but we've just been doing this. I don't know how many places we've been to, simply because we wanted to get people to go back out to local restaurants and bars, and frankly, it's a joy for us to meet people like you.
I appreciate that. All the local places, the independently owned restaurants, we need it, right? Because they're all struggling, and everybody needs to get back out. And I'm partial to the community we live in, and we're here in this area, and we need to get back out, and we need people to make everybody aware of the fact that we're here and we're offering this, and what a great experience to come for food and wine and hospitality that we put out here. Come and sit on our patios.
Yeah, we're here for you. We're here for you.
You can hang out for 4 hours if you want. You can rent this room for 4 hours if you want, and make it a night.
Can I do a shout out?
You can.
Absolutely.
Go check out my YouTube channel, theorchardentertainment.com. You could, or I don't know if it's .com, it's YouTube, whatever. You'll see me on my flight videos. I got some cooking videos. I'm gonna start doing wine tutorials and stuff like that because we're doing wine classes. So I figure might as well record it and kind of spread it with the word or with the world. So, Orchard Entertainment.
Sean Vision, baby.
Yeah.
So we can't thank you enough for today and certainly this experience. Obviously at Tartine Bistro at 19110 Old Detroit Road, right in downtown Rocky River. This has been fantastic. Come out here. Maybe you'll meet Dean. Maybe he'll be at the bar. Maybe he'll meet Sean.
You know who you will meet?
You'll
meet Dean's dad.
or
mayor of Tartine.
Yeah.
You got it, Joe.
That you'll do.
Well, let's be honest. The inspiration for Tartine.
I know. But truthfully, I mean, I mean, whether you're here for a date night, whether you're going to come here with some guys and hang out in the bourbon room, and I mean, like, come here. There's opportunities for private events. There's opportunities to come here for just dinner, but there's also opportunities that get a locker because there's still a few left.
And if you like beer, where do you go?
Immigrant Son
Immigrant Son Brewery.
It's 3 minutes down the road.
That's right. That's right.
I'll give you that.
Thank you so much. Your drinks are amazing. Dean, thank you.
Well, thank you very
I'm still
much.
going to finish
This,
this.
but I
You
want
should,
to
man.
thank
Yeah,
you.
absolutely.
Thank you
You're the
very
best.
much.
Thanks, brother.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
thanks, Sean.
Hey, that was fun.